Yeah, well, presentations on forward, come back this way.
Check. Test. Test.
Business.
I came by to see it.
I'm good. I'm 71.
Amazing.
Okay, let's call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Garcia,
Here.
Vice Mayor Petronanda, Councilman Best,
Present.
Councilman Bain,
I'm here.
Councilman Buckner. You're here.
Please stand for the pledge. Well, before we do that, I'm going to ask Vice Mayor Petrolanda to lead us in the invocation, if you don't mind, sir.
No, sir. If we all bow our heads, please. Lord, before we begin our work at hand tonight, we ask for your blessing upon this gathering of servants, our city, and our residents. We pray for guidance in the matters we are about to discuss. May we remember those we represent, those we serve, and that we keep the interests of our community at heart. Amen.
Amen. Please face the flag. Place your hand over your heart. Recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You gotta move these flags back the way they were.
I don't know who switched them. I don't know if there's a particular order.
No, but it's always been there.
I'd have to look at that. Welcome, everyone. Okay. We don't have any words and presentations tonight. I need the clipboards, please.
Clippy, clippy.
Okay, so we're going to go right into our open forum. Mr. Anchopolowski. Welcome, Ms. White.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much for allowing me time to speak to you. First of all, let me tell you that I have nothing bad to say about you guys. I love you all. I think you're doing a great job, okay?
Thank you.
You have no enemies here. I am before you on a matter dealing with quality of life, okay? Specifically mine. I reside at 115 South Royal Point, Sienna Boulevard, across from the middle school, which means that my backyard is Okeechobee Road. You're all invited for a pajama party if you want to come to my house so that you can be awakened at 6:30 in the morning by the trucks running down the street with no mufflers on and doing the compression braking and blowing their train horns at 6:30 in the morning. And there's no enforcement. Florida Highway Patrol absorbed the Motor Carrier Compliance Unit, which are the ones that weigh the trucks and checks all those commercial vehicles. And they don't do any enforcement on Okeechobee Road, and I understand why, because there's no place to pull over those trucks if they want to stop them. In typical FDOT engineering, they made no allowances to pull vehicles over. And if you pull somebody over, then you're going to be obstructing one lane of traffic, and it's just simply not going to happen. Hialeah has jurisdiction, FHP has jurisdiction, the county has jurisdiction, and nobody's going to do anything about it because it's too difficult. I get it. But FDOT puts up sound barriers everywhere else that they build a highway. Why can't they do it on Okeechobee Road? Okay? I am sure that there are people that are going to go, oh my goodness, aesthetically that is so ugly. What is it that you're trying to prevent? Hialeah looking into Miami Springs or Miami Springs looking into Okeechobee Road? I mean, what is it that offends you? Because I don't see a viable argument about aesthetics on a sound barrier. FEC did it for the trains. They do it on 95, they do it on 75, they do it everywhere else. And feel free to come with me, and we'll sit there across the canal and look at the trucks go by with no mufflers. The owner-operators of these dump trucks, in order to maximize their efficiency and their cost savings, they're running without mufflers. And there's no enforcement. And you cannot have a conversation in my backyard. And I will invite any one of you that wants to come over. I have a nice pool. We can sit down there and have a nice cup of coffee or whatever. And you can all spend the night over there and then be awakened at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Will you make sure that the clerk has your phone number, although I know I do, so I can make sure to follow up with you, letting you know how our conversation goes on the status, but I'll be more than happy to follow up
Yeah,
with
yeah.
that.
The only solution to this, the only viable solution, real solution, is FDOT doing a sound barrier. I don't think enforcement is going to work. It's actually unenforceable because of the way that road was built. You might be able to do something on the westbound lane, but the eastbound lane, forget about it. So, my number is 786.
You can give it to her on the side.
Okay.
You don't have to advertise it. Thank you very much.
Mayor,
Wait. He was giving his number for the pajama party. Everybody write it down.
why don't you let him?
Miss White was writing it down already for the.
You know, this
She wants
is
to know if you're gonna have Mojo
this
Donuts
is
at
this
your
is
pajama
giving me
party.
this is
Are you
giving
gonna
me a
have
great idea for a forum because I'm single, you know. So
That's
this may
.com.
work. This may work.
You see the things that folks come up to advertise here. Look, she's calling. Excuse me. This is how we need to start every council meeting, ladies and gentlemen.
Good.
All right.
How did you meet?
Oh,
At a council
all right.
meeting.
Grace, I
know how to
apologize that I
pronounce
couldn't
it.
read your last name. Loeb. Okay, wonderful. I've seen it written like 10 different ways. Another way right here. Welcome, Miss Loeb.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Grace Loeb, and I live at 250 East 2nd Avenue, right across Okeechobee Road in Hialeah. I'm here today to invite you all to our 4th annual Walk Against Rare Diseases. As you may see my face, it looks familiar. I'm here pretty much every year to invite you to our event. This year, the slogan is research brings hope to people living with a rare disease. Many people ask me, what is a rare disease, Grace? A rare disease in the United States is considered rare if affect fewer than 200,000 people. I have one of those 200,000. I have one of them. He has one very rare disease that is 1 in a million. Vice Mayor Petrolanda used to be his teacher in 7th grade. He now is attending to college. I'm here to pave the way, one pebble at a time, for those other parents that are coming behind me. I also would like to ask you to wear this little blue ribbon that you have it on your podium that, thank you, Mr. Mayor, on Rare Disease Day. International Rare Disease Day is the last day of February, for which we also would like to ask if we can please have a proclamation for that day to honor those affected by rare diseases. If you can please do that, and someone can be presented either at the luncheon that we're going to have for parents and patients that have the rare disease in Hialeah Gardens, or you can present it at the walk. The choice is yours to make. And also, we would like to ask everyone here if you wanted to take one of these postcards, even if you cannot attend, please take a picture, post it on your social media. It's all about the awareness. There's a slogan that says, alone we are rare and together we are strong. The slogan of the Guardian Hounds Foundation is fighting rare diseases to make a difference while being different. We all know someone. Who do you know? Let's come together and walk for the 130 million Americans that are affected by rare disorders. Thank you so very much, and I hope to see you at the walk.
Thank you, Grace.
Very good, thank you.
William Plasencia.
Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Welcome, sir.
Council people. My wife, Amy, and our baby Nathaniel moved into the neighborhood last year. We've been here for almost a year now, at the end of this month, and I come to you talking about the noise situation that's occurring in the bird section, in particular over by Ludlam Road, and the noise that's emanating from the train yard, not just the train whistles and the train horns, but also the activity that's occurring there that's really affecting the quality of life for not just me, but for a lot of our neighbors. So the feedback that I'm getting from our neighbors, both online and from people who I've spoken to, is that something needs to be done in order to tamp down the noise, whether it's creating barriers or whether it's controlling the train whistles and horns along the crossings or a combination of the two. But I'm here with my wife and my baby to ask all of you to please do something, whether it's looking into a sound study, as I know, I think it's one of the issues that you're going to be voting on later on today, or looking at something a little bit more drastic, like the gentleman who was here before me, looking at creating some barriers that'll protect our area of Miami Springs from some of the noise. So I'm going to let my wife talk a little bit as well, because she has some ideas, and I'm going to hold the baby.
Smart man.
Hi, my name is Amy Close. I'm just here to ask for your support in passing the Quiet Zone project. I know that that's the first step, as he was saying, in getting this done. It's really becoming unlivable. I feel like I'm going crazy. It's late at night. It's just constant. There's no time that it ends. So we ask for you to take this first step, and then we'll proceed from there, hopefully.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Mike De La Cruz. Welcome, sir.
I'm going to read off my notes. My name is Mike De La Cruz. I'm a resident at 172 Bentley Drive. I'm here today to bring an issue to your attention, which is an issue that has been discussed by others in the same forum on multiple occasions and sadly has not been resolved. When I was in the market for a home last year, Miami Springs was described to me as a peaceful and quiet little gem. Having now lived here for close to a year, I can say that is factual, with the exception to those who live within a 1-mile radius of Woody's, located at 600 Payne Drive. When I purchased my home, I saw the establishment and thought it was a nice, cozy sports bar, and little I knew, from Thursday to Saturday nights, I was going to be tortured with a full live rock band playing 300 feet away from my master bedroom till 11 o'clock at night. This is a full outdoor concert, no different than that of a concert at a stadium, consisting of drummers, guitarists, keyboards, amplifiers, loud music speakers, the whole works. A noise ordinance does exist to prevent issues of this type, and the noise ordinance states that the noise can't be plainly audible from a distance of greater than 50 feet in a commercial area. Plainly audible by definition means a sound that can be detected by a person using his or her unaided hearing faculties. My home is more than 300 feet away, and the noise is plainly audible from inside my master bedroom, which was clearly noted on the police reports I provided the city. So it wasn't only plainly audible to me, it was also plainly audible to the police officers that have visited my home. I have video I could provide, which I showed the city manager, in which the noise is documented from inside my house at 50 decibels. As a doctor, my wife alternates weekends and starts working at 12 a.m. and sets her alarm clock at 11 p.m. Rarely she's awakened by the alarm clock. She's always awakened by the noise of the concert. Could you imagine having a rock band playing outside your master bedroom, plainly audible at 50 decibels, starting 5 hours before it's your time to wake up? Every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights, I'm a prisoner in my home to the music I have no interest in hearing, yet I can't escape no matter where I go inside my house. I started the research online and found several people whom have expressed concerns and have brought this up to this very forum, and no resolve. I've had the pleasure of meeting some of them, and I can tell you that they feel betrayed by the city, and they feel forgotten and disregarded. They feel that the ordinance is clear and that the city is failing in enforcing the ordinance, and have lost all faith and respect for the city as a result. I have called the cops a handful of times, and in every event was told by the cops that when they go to speak to the manager of the establishment, they are laughed at. Folks, you don't have to take my word for it. You're open to look at the police reports and interview those cops and hear it directly from them. The city manager has tirelessly attempted to help me and recently went as far as speaking directly to the manager of that establishment, and the weekend after that meeting, it was the loudest weekend to date with respect towards the city manager. In desperation for a resolve, I have reached out to multiple media outlets, which I have shown communication of to the city manager, And trust me when I tell you, they are hungry to cover the story. I wanted to be fair to the city of Miami Springs before moving forward with any of the media outlets and personally bring the issue to the attention of the city council as a last-ditch effort before going down that road. Folks, my quality of life and that of my neighbors is being compromised. Our police are being laughed at. The city manager is being disregarded. By not resolving this issue, the city council is directly endorsing that behavior. With that being said, I'd like to ask the city council, being that the ability to resolve this matter is solely in your hands, to please work with the city manager and give him the tools necessary to put an immediate stop to this issue and restore law and order in the city of Miami Springs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. De La Cruz. Arlene Esperon. Welcome back. Sometimes come by just to say hi too, okay?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, city council, manager, the city councilor, everyone. Some of you are new. I've never met you before, but welcome. Mr. Alonso. I'm present this evening with respect to the noise nuisance, which continues in the neighborhood, and my neighbor came up and so eloquently put it to you. If you'd be reminded, I originally came here in 2014. I was here in 2015, along with a lot of neighbors, and a couple of them have moved out of town. We got 50 or 60 or 70 signatures of residents who were up in arms at the time. And again, we're still here. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed except the fact that we're all getting... For the record, the noise problem that is continuing, and unfortunately, the noise making establishment does not and has not responded to the spirit of being a good neighbor. We've all tried to talk to him. We've complained to the police department. They come out, they verify the noise, they go down there, they get laughed at, they turn the music down for a minute or two, the police go back to handling things that are more important in the neighborhood, and the music goes right back up, plus 10 more decimal points. I live further down Payne Drive than my neighbor Mike does. I live probably 500 or 600 yards from this establishment. I can't sit in my backyard and stream Pandora. I can't sit in my backyard and have a conversation with my husband. I can't sit in my backyard and hear the birds at 7 and 8 o'clock at night. I'm a taxpayer. I pay a lot of money to live in this city. I pay a lot of money to live in my house and keep it up. We all moved to Miami Springs because we love this neighborhood. What's going on down at the corner, and I'm not going to say the establishment because I don't want a legal problem, because he's a bully and that's what he does. I'm asking you, I'm imploring you, find a resolution. We're having a problem. We're continuing to have a problem. And every time I speak to either the mayor or I communicate with the city manager, I get told, get your neighbors to call the police and complain. My neighbors are tired. I got neighbors who are dying of cancer. I've got neighbors who are working 3 jobs to make ends meet to live in this city. They don't want to be bothered with this. We knocked on 45 doors yesterday, handed out 45 flyers, and you can see the response we got. People are coming home from work, a hard day's work on Monday. They don't have time to come down here and complain, especially when they feel like you guys aren't doing anything to help them. I'm asking the city council to expediently get this resolved. It's gone on way too long. He's a bully, and he knows you all are afraid of him. We file police reports. Nobody writes him a citation. Nobody closes him down. Nobody fines him. Nothing happens. If I had a party at my house and created this kind of noise, what would the police department say to me? They'd come out twice, and they'd start arresting people. I don't get the preferential treatment. On a side note, and for the record, I want you all to know that in my opinion, when the city experienced electoral issues with this gentleman, and you all came out on the flip upside of the situation, and you didn't hold his feet to the fire for reimbursement of legal fees. Big mistake. You just let the bully and the city loose. You got to teach this guy a lesson. That's the only thing he understands. Thank you.
Thank you, Arlene. All right, that concludes open forum. Moving on to approval of council minutes, 5A. Before we move on, for those of you who to our actions based on the information we've gotten from open forum, please make sure the city clerk has your information on which item you'd like to get a response on, and I promise you that the city manager or one of us, or maybe all of us, will get back to you in reference to the issue that you're pertaining to. Just know that your concerns and issues are heard. Moving on, approval of council minutes, 5A, January 23rd, 2017, regular meeting.
Through the chair, 5A.
Woman Buckner?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes. Okay, we have no reports from boards or public hearings. Moving straight to consent agenda. These are all items that are already funded or budgeted, as we have discussed the budget before. Yes,
Correct. Item 8A, recommendation by Police Department that council approve an expenditure to Patrol PC as a sole source provider in the amount of $20,994, as there is only one signature from the Police Law Enforcement Trust Fund, pursuant to Section 3111E6C of the City Code. 8B, recommendation by the Police Department that council authorize the issuance of a purchase order to Luz Police Distributors Incorporated, utilizing the City of Hallandale Beach bid FY 2012-2013-008 uniform pursuant to Section 3111E5 of the City Code. And item 8C, recommendation by Public Works that council authorize the issuance and or execution of a purchase order to HG Construction, utilizing City of West Miami bid number 2016-1003216 in an amount not to exceed $14,810.85 for emergency sidewalk repairs at various locations, as funds were budgeted in the fiscal year 16-17 budget pursuant to Section 3111E5 of the City Code, and available funding utilizing the city's existing CITT funds.
Motion to move.
Go ahead.
Motion to move consent agenda items A, B, and C.
I'll second.
Any discussion on the consent agendas items? Okay, call a roll, please.
Vice Mayor
Yes.
Petrolanda? Councilman Best?
Aye.
Councilman Bain?
Yes.
Councilwoman Buckner?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes. So moving on to old business, we have an update on our quiet zone project. Mr. Manager?
Yes, Mayor and Council, in response to your request at the last meeting that we bring this item back up again, let me just read the memo, the revised memo. During the past few months, the administration has been researching the possibility of providing a quiet zone at the railroad crossing in the city, since many residents in that area have expressed their displeasure with the noise during the middle of the night. In reviewing the requirements for this type of project, the first step would be to hire an engineer to complete a study in order to determine the amount of work required and the number of crossings that will be affected. Our city engineers, Craven and Thompson, referred us to R.J. Baer for this work, and their quote, which is attached, is estimated to cost approximately $13,254.50 for Phase 1 of the project. Phase 1 consists of 8 tasks, which will include providing the city with the number of crossings involved and the estimated cost of doing these crossings. If council is interested in pursuing this study, we would need approval to appropriate $13,255 from reserves. In the meantime, staff continues to search for grants and other funding sources to help pay for the project if approved. I have also added on the last page of your package, who have a quiet zone. There are certain instances where they have to blow the horn anyway, even if you have a quiet zone. So I wanted to bring that up to you for your consideration.
Through the chair,
Sir.
Mr. Manager, you mentioned Phase 1. Is there a Phase 2 or a Phase 3? Or?
Well, after Phase 1, we determine what needs to be done and what the cost is. If you look at task number 2, is an inventory. They'll perform an inventory of selected railroad crossings. Inventory will include number of roadway lanes, number of railroad tracks, etc. And then task 3 is data collection, which if you read the memo from them, it's The following data will be requested by the City of Miami Springs from the Railroad Company or FDOT, which are railroad crossings identification numbers, number of trains per day, train speeds, and things of that nature. Phase 1 is $13,254, and I believe if you go to phase 2 and 3, it's probably another 15 to 16,000
Each or collectively?
collectively.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Wait, explain again what phase 2 and 3 are.
Inventory and data collection.
Inventory and data collection.
I think we've all read this, but the reason I asked the man is so that folks here would know what it was about.
Got it. Councilwoman?
Now, we had a conversation on this, and I just want to verify. The majority of the noise that they're talking about is in fact within the yard.
I would imagine.
Okay.
And a lot of the noise that they're complaining about, it's not just train horns, it's when the actual...
Okay, so we cannot, this study that we're doing that we're going to start with a $13,000, which is task 1, not task 2 or 3, we haven't even gotten there yet.
Right.
That has nothing to do with inside the yard.
That's correct.
That's only at the railroad crossing.
Only at the crossing.
That would prevent the horns from being blown because of the specificity of the railroad crossing. That will not even begin to deal with what's going on inside the yard.
That's correct.
Okay. Can we do anything at all without spending $13,000 to find out about a quiet zone to resolve any of the situations in the yard, or is that something that cannot be resolved? Have you found that out?
Well, that would be something that you take up with the FEC, but from our discussions with them, there are federal laws that require them to take certain actions within the yard that we really can't, it's really out of their hands.
Okay.
And as far as the trains coupling, there's really nothing
the coupling,
you can do about
it
that.
makes noise when they release
Right.
it. Okay.
Right.
Now, once we do task 1 and they come back and tell us what we the identifying of the railroad crossings and whatnot, which I believe we've spoken about, and it may be 5, and going back to where we had the meeting previously, that you were going to find out some information that our colleagues here on the dais asked. If the other 2 cities that have crossings that we need that they need to join in and do the quiet zone do not want to do it, we are responsible for paying for those, correct?
Correct. We have to, a quiet zone involves a half a mile from the rail track. So you go half a mile in all directions, and if any crossings within that half mile has to be a quiet zone also.
Okay.
So if we determine there's 3 or 4 that need to be done, for example, those need to be done to be a quiet zone. If the other cities don't want to participate, then if we wanted to do it, we would have to absorb the cost.
Pick up the money, yeah.
Okay, so task 1, if we approve the task for task 1, that'll tell us at that point in time
How many crossings
and what the
what the
prices
cost
are?
will be, what's required in each crossing, and what the cost will be. That's correct.
Through the chair, if I might.
Yes, sir.
Councilwoman, are you done with your?
Well, I just one more thing.
I
The
didn't-
property I'm
apologize.
sorry, thanks. The property on the canal, where we've got all the trees and whatnot between, where the canal ends, and then we've got the canal, and then we've already got walls established on that side. That's owned by FEC, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And how about putting up other barrier walls there?
Well,
That
that's
would not
something-
be,
That's something we would have to
That they
discuss
would
with
have
the
to-
FEC.
We already have.
and they said no?
No, it'll be included in what I have to say. I'll wait
Okay,
till we're done.
okay. I just wanted.
Yeah.
Okay,
Go
thank
on.
Yeah. Through the chair.
I'm done.
Thank you, Councilwoman. We not done this study already?
No.
I'm talking 4 or 5 years ago.
I don't remember
No.
having done
No.
this type of
When
study.
Jim was here?
No, we
when
didn't.
Jim was very close. No.
Please.
Since.
No, we didn't.
Since.
Since we've been up here, the study hasn't been done. You asked a question and I answered it for you.
Okay.
We haven't done it. Before we continue with it, there's someone that signed up to speak to this item. I know we'll have questions. Mr. Bonasi, if you could come up, please, sir. Well, I need it to be on the record. You can stay right there. We'll give you a microphone. Can we give him a microphone or not?
He's coming.
Yeah.
Come up.
Gotcha.
You need to contact former Mayor John Cavalier. He's done a lot of work with that railroad. That's number 1.
Yes, sir.
Number 2, when we had our fire department that the city controlled, they asked the FEC Railroad to give them a schedule so that when they have a 911 call, they can know when not to go across that track. And the FEC refused, and they were within their right because they said, if we
Safety
give
issues.
you a schedule and you don't come at the right time, you're going to sue us. You know, so good luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Of course, Mr. Bonus is referring to the 1948 Railroad Act.
Right, yes. He is. Just for a little bit of background, myself and the two previous city managers have had communication with the FEC when they came here before us to give us an update on the quiet zone. It's been over 2 years that it came, and actually they informed us, if you recall, when they stood up there, that there was, you know, folks were upset about the horns, that, you know, sometime in the very near future, again, this was over 2 years ago that they were up here, they said, approximately 2 years, they said, the horns are actually out of date, and they will be replacing their horns with the new ones that are to the code and to the requirement of it. No, they're actually louder. So
Yeah.
So when you hear folks talk about how, you know, I've heard this said to people or to residents. Well, when you bought your house, the trains were already there and the horns were already blowing. Put some impact windows and you'll see how that'll quiet them. There's residents that a few years ago put some of those windows on and said to me, you know what, now I can hardly hear it. It isn't as bad, but I can still hear it. They've come back to me and have said since then, all of a sudden it's louder. They've put new horns. You hear them even further distances and you can hear them. And although I will agree 100% with the councilwoman, you can't control anything that goes on inside of the rail yard because I don't know if it's a law or an ordinance that they have. They're required, it's a requirement actually, to test their horns before they take off. Because at any given time, they're going to have to blow their horn somewhere down the line or multiple times down the line. And there are some required zones, but they still blow them sometimes because they really aren't enforced. So there's multiple issues that are wrong. The one thing that I think we're required to do is to make sure that our residents know we've done everything in our power to try to quiet the noise. And if we go and do this study of $13,000 and it comes back and tells us this is what's required of you, you know, of the multiple stops, and I would like for you to double check that because I was told it was a half-mile radius of it, but it could be a half-mile each way. Just double check. Just double check it.
Radius.
Because there's nobody to the south, it's only to the north because we are the last stop. So I believe it's just the half-mile towards one way into Hialeah, and I was also told by an informal study that Hialeah already has done to it what is required for quiet zone. We sat through a full presentation with FEC Rail Yard, and FEC Rail Yard said, well, these are some of the things that are required. You have to have 2 arms on each side, as opposed to one on one side, one on the other, where the cars could just drive around them. That's what they want to try to avoid. Solutions for a lower cost are putting non-traversable medians, which is, you know, the humps, which is about a 6-inch high hump, which is they mentioned was anywhere from a $50,000 to $70,000 solution on each side. So you don't have to put the double arms down. They had multiple solutions. It's just, you know, when we don't want things to happen, we tend to select the more expensive one, and that's the one we grab and run with and advertise and market to residents. But there are multiple solutions to doing it. The $14,000 or $13,000 is for the study, for the city to have the information necessary for us to make the decision whether or not, you know what, we can't afford to pay for the quiet zone for Hialeah or for Medley. We can't afford to pay it for everybody. So when we come back to the residents that come and knock on our doors, and when the Plasencia family comes here, and when the Guido Gonzalez family comes and calls me or invites us to their house during election time like they have before and say, what are you doing about the noise? We have the information. And it isn't the generic, it's federal, my hands are clean, kick the can down the road. We have, here's a study, it was $13,000. It says that we have the ability of putting this median to pay $50,000, or we could spend $100,000 or $250,000, and this is why we chose to do it, and this is what we did, or this is what we didn't do. But we owe the residents. We talk about $13,000 being a lot of money, but it's really a drop in the bucket when it comes to the possibility of even quieting the horn noise 30, 40, 50% of what it is. Because where I live, you all know where I live. I advertise it very well. Okay, I'm all the way on Whitethorn.
Mhm.
I still hear the horn blowing. I don't hear the coupling. We still hear it blowing, and it's not from blowing inside the yard. I hear it all the way down from Lenape. Because it comes straight down as loud as it is. I hear it from Hialeah, and I hear it from Miami Springs from the Ludlam crossing. So even though, let's say I'm going to be here, I'm still going to hear half of it. If we can help calm half of the noise, and there's a possibility, I'm okay with spending the money for the study to show residents this is what, or for us to consider what we have to do, and then show residents we did everything we could possibly do to quiet the noise.
Did we had discussion on this, what, a year and a half ago up here? As a matter of fact, to Councilwoman Buckner's credit, she was the one that brought it up. And there was numbers attached with each intersection. Where the trains go through on major thoroughfares, where they are compelled to, or by mandate, to blow their horns as they go through intersections.
Right.
And there was a number attached to each intersection, correct? I can remember, Xavier, first time you and I ran, 2005. I went over and had a meeting right after that election with Henry Blaylock, who was the Hialeah yard manager for the FEC. He laughed me out of his office, similar as two people said here earlier relative to noise disturbances. I think we got to get smarter before we attack this. I'm not sure $13,200 is the answer. I think we need to continue to work on this to satisfy these folks.
That's the first step, and then from there we continue to move forward.
Well, we already know what the problem is. Why should we spend $13,000?
No, that's not the way it works. Listen,
I know, Z. I know.
You know, I live on Meadowlark, and the horns and stuff never bothered me till I started getting people telling me that the horns are bothering me. I guess then it gets in your mind. And that's the truth. But now that he says that the horns have been changed and they are louder, the councilwoman's correct in that. I don't know. When I was mayor, 2003 and on, there was a complaint, and I had Commissioner Sosa, and we went and spoke, and Mr. Seaton and everything. But it sounds like a sorry excuse, but it's federal jurisdiction, and it's a bad situation. I don't know what we can do, but as far as the cost of this study, it maybe shows that we're at least being proactive's not the word I want, but at least giving the consideration to the residents that are coming up to speak. But the council there, he said you had some information that there's possibility of grants and monies to pay for this that is available. You talked to somebody.
Yes, Mayor. I spoke to Jose Gonzalez from FEC at an event who said that as they're doing their Brightline project, they actually obtained, mind you, it's a very large project, but they obtained a grant from the MPO to do quiet zones. And the mayor's right. It depends on the individual crossings as to what is needed, so each one requires its own assessment. But they obtained a grant for crossings from Miami-Dade, Broward, and Brant. I don't know the specifications of the grant just yet because there wasn't a point of researching it just at this time. But there's an opportunity to recover most, I'm not quite sure, perhaps even all of the funds associated with the improvements. And there's no telling what the improvements are going to be because there are a number of ways to resolve it. So if Miami Springs just needs a median, if Hialeah just needs a median, et cetera, we would know once this study is completed. And then we could submit for the grant.
To help pay for the situation.
Mayor,
Mr. Vice Mayor?
I have a couple of questions. Now that you brought up the grant issue, let's say we put up the 13,000 that we need to. Okay, if we get the grant, can we reimburse ourselves the 13,000?
I'm not sure about that cost. I know the grant was for hard costs for construction. So I don't believe that the 13,000 would be included, but we can look into that.
Okay, if you can, please. The other one is how long of a process is this going to be?
To do the study?
Yeah, the whole process from hiring them and from them doing the process and
No,
you coming back
they
to us.
already sent the proposal, so it's just a matter of if it's approved, I'll sign it, send it to them, and I think we're looking at 4 to 6 weeks for phase one.
Okay. Mayor, and I want to concur with what you say. If no one knows this, I live next to the mayor, and I hear the horns and I hear the coupling myself. It's just getting louder and louder. I think we owe it to the residents who live closer to the railroad track that we try to do something. We try to tackle the issue instead of just kicking it down the road. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion on the item, please.
I'll make a motion
To,
to go ahead with the study, to allocate the $13,000 to the study.
I have a motion, I need a second, please.
I'll second it.
I have a second, any discussion on the item?
One thing I want to say on the item is, Mr. Spino, is there any way, we vote on it and go, is there any way you have any contact with the people at the rail yard? I know that Mr. Seaton had I can't remember the fellow's name who was their lobbyist that when we were talking about annexation, and they used to talk about, is there anybody you have any contacts with?
He's talking about Neeson.
Who?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
If-
they're,
if
these are
there's
their
any
attorney
help
lobbies.
that they can do there, is if there's, I know this is kind of being, we can only try.
What happens if you don't ask?
Yeah, is there any help that maybe they can help, temper their slamming the cars together, for another better word, maybe to slow it down in the AM,
I spoke to Jose Gonzalez. I mean, I think that there are multiple access points to FEC, but I think it's worth letting him know that if the city moves this way, we're sort of taking an interest in resolving this as amicably as possible.
Yeah.
And trying to work with them. Again, I think that the councilwoman's right. They're going to conduct their business. They have not only certain county regulations that allow them to operate there, but federal regulations too. But it's worth trying to see if we can
Sure.
get them to be better neighbors.
Yeah. I would request that if, as the vote goes forward.
Through the chair, if I might ask before we
Any
vote on this.
discussion? Yes, sir.
This is phase one, correct? $13,255.
Right, when,
Oh.
yes, sir.
My question becomes, what will this do for us?
Well, in my mind, to the
I'm
resident.
asking the mayor.
Oh, my question. Beautiful. well, then you'll know what you can and can't do. Because although you might feel that, or some might feel that we already know what we need to do, we really don't know. We haven't had a professional tell you, this is what you need to do. It's been something recommended by, or the advice of someone who might work with the FEC, but not necessarily an engineering consultant that tells you this is exactly what has to be done, or here are your 3 options of what can be done. Confirming that Hialeah already has what is necessary to be a quiet zone in their area. That's been said to me, but I'm not going to go based on
Yeah,
what someone within the city said to me. I would like it for it to be
I understand that, but
confirmation fact.
I understand that, sir, but I'm going to go back to what I asked you earlier, or not you, but I brought up earlier. And that is there was a dollar amount attached to each intersection, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Councilwoman Buckner, you can back me up on this if you will.
No, but I don't-
there
I
was
wanna
three.
see-
There were 3 intersections that were involved: North Royal, and then 2 in Hialeah.
Right.
In Medley.
And there was a dollar amount attached. Where did that come from?
Okay.
Well, it's
If I can.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
In my meeting with the city manager and with Carol, she brought in paperwork that it would cost upwards from 100,000 to 250 per, and that we would have to, but that was just information that they had gotten for us to be able to have.
So basically, what we're saying is we have to authenticate this going forward
Well, I
for
think-
13 grand.
Well,
Okay.
I
All right.
understand what you're saying, but it's just like anything else. As through our experience up here, somebody throws out a number, an estimated number of what something's going to cost, and then when you put it out for RFP or whatever, you find the number that there's been many times when it was exploited, the number's been exploited where it was X amount of dollars too much, and it's been a time when we underestimated a number and it comes back and it at least in this perspective of what we're going to do, it's not a question. It's going to give you a firm a number that you might need, that you can confirm to the resident and understand what's going on.
I guess my whole point becomes
Instead of
let's-
rumor.
Right. Let's not be duplicitous with this. If we've done it already, let's not do it again.
Right,
That's
but
all I'm saying.
The document doesn't exist.
Okay.
So we haven't done it.
Amen. Amen.
So just to answer the question, again, the city has no official costs X dollars for anything outside of doing the study to make sure that we do everything in our power to make sure that there's a quiet zone for residents. And we should be penny wise all the time with the money, the people's money, but being pound foolish isn't an option.
Based on that comment, I will support it.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
If I can ask,
Still in discussion, by the way.
if I can ask, I agree that we do need to have this done. But I also want you, Mr. City Manager, or the attorney, somebody to get a hold of FEC, because what I'm hearing and from living, I used to live on Florida Avenue. I know exactly, you know, and I come from my husband comes from a railroad family. I want to make sure that when we spend money and we spend the residents' money to quiet what we're envisioning as a quiet zone, that they understand and that we understand and that we've made the neighbor attempt with FEC, because no matter how much money we spend or what we say up here, there's things that go on in that yard that will go on in that yard, that must go on in that yard, and no matter how high a wall we build or what we do, the noise will continue in the yard. Okay, in the yard.
That's right.
As long as we keep that in the back of our minds, and yes, I think we should progress forward and make that a quiet
Not
zone.
only have we kept it in the back of our mind,
And we-
you've mentioned it at every meeting, and I mention it every time. We know that there's a very good possibility, this study will confirm it. I'll say close to 100% guarantee that whatever horns blow right now and whatever noise you hear right now in the yard will continue to occur in that yard. This is more just for my decision process. This is more for even the possibility that we can stop the blowing of the horn at the crossing on Ludlam and at Hialeah that you still hear into Miami Springs. If you could stop those, and it's 50%, and I think it's greater than that, but let's say it's 50% of the blowing all those horns, you could stop those, residents are going to understand that you cannot stop what goes on in there. People are smart enough to know that it's a safety issue also, because you know what's going to come back to? If there's a quiet zone that's done somewhere down the road, part of the agreement is if there's an issue that they were required to go through there without blowing the horn, and it's a safety issue, all of that comes up and will come before us, and there still will be plenty of other votes to decide whether or not to move forward once our options are being proposed to us. But I'd like to thank, from what I hear so far, is hopefully a unanimous support for moving forward with the study for the quiet zone. And then when we get all the information, it comes before us, then we'll decide how much money that we can afford to spending into the beginning process of the quiet zone, and know 100% exactly what it means to make a quiet zone. We'll come up with a set definition to share with people, but folks will be satisfied we're taking this step right now. I have a first and a second. Call a roll, please.
Vice Mayor Petrolano.
Yes.
Councilman Best.
Aye.
Councilman Bain.
Yes.
Councilwoman Buckner.
Yes.
Mayor Garcia.
Yes.
Before we move on, Mayor, if I might ask the manager a question.
Sure.
Willie, you mentioned that there is phase 2 and phase 3 of this. Phase 2 being inventory and phase 3 being data collection.
Let me
Can you tell me what those mean?
make a correction on that. Hold on. Phase 1 consists of, and you'll see in your packet, 8 tasks. And the inventory and all that is included in phase 1.
Thank you.
Once you do those 8 tasks, then phase 2 is where they go out with the governmental agencies and all that, and the FEC and the FRA and all that, to start the process going to establish the quiet zone.
Right, but within phase 1, they give us all of those 8 steps.
Oh, yes.
They
Yeah,
do
as
the
a
8
matter of
steps,
fact-
but they also come back to us and let us know what is required for each of these locations.
Correct.
And the different things we can do.
Task 7 is meetings and presentations, says total of 5 meetings are anticipated. No, 3 meetings. 2 meetings with city staff and 1 presentation to council once the whole process is done. And then task 8 is project management, in which they'll provide management and coordination for the study. So
understood.
Okay. Thank you for that, just so people understand that.
All right. All right, moving on. 9B, this is a presentation from Lifespan on the new senior center multipurpose facility.
Yes,
Mr.
Mayor and
Manager?
Council, let me read this into the record. On November 14th, 2016, Council approved the execution of a contract with Lifespan Design Studios, LLC, to provide consulting services to assist the city in the layout and design of the new multipurpose activities and senior center facility. At the council meeting of January 23rd of this year, Council approved our recommendation to work with Lifespan on developing plans for a new facility only at the current Payne Drive site instead of the 2 sites previously authorized by Council. This will also result in a reduction of design costs and will generate a savings to the city. We have had, since that meeting, several follow-up discussions with Lifespan. And tonight, Doug and Ellen Gallo of Lifespan are here to provide council with a presentation of the results of these discussions and what their proposal is for the interior layout of the facility, as well as some proposed footprints for the building. The next step in the process is for Lifespan to assist the city in developing a request for qualifications package to be competitively advertised in order to hire an architect, engineer for the design, build, specifications, and plan for construction. Doug?
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, progress report tonight as to where we are, what we've been doing for the last 6 weeks, and I think we're making good progress on that. What we've started with is working with Karen Rossen from the Senior Center and her staff and program directors at the Senior Center, and with William Alonso and Tammy Miro, also Vicky Panoff and Omar Luna. We've had numerous meetings to discuss the progress of these meetings that we've had with Karen and staff. What you have on the board right now is the program of requirements. Having toured the existing facility, spoken with Karen, looked at what the Senior Center currently does, what they want to be doing in the future, what they're currently not able to do because of the existing structure that they're in. We have come up with this list of 20 some odd spaces and rooms that would make up the new Senior Center. And there are numerous office spaces, multi-purpose rooms, various types of bathrooms, and public restrooms as well. And when you add all of these spaces up square footage wise, we've analyzed each space for the different types of activities that wants to occur in them, determined appropriate square footage based on Senior Center design and design for aging. And we've come up with a net square footage of 9,375 square feet. That is the net square footage. We add a 20% factor to that number. On a building of this scale, between 20 and 25% is appropriate. A larger building, we would probably go as large as 30%. But here we added a 20% factor, which gives you the thickness of the walls and general circulation within the building. So we come up with a gross square footage to meet their programmatic needs of 11,250 square feet. To give you an example of comparison, the existing building is 4,989 square feet. So we're talking about obviously more than twice the size of the existing building. And we are comfortable to believe, and in talking with Karen, that this 11,250 square feet does meet the programmatic needs of the center. So what we've done with that program is then developed what we call a program fit plan. It's going to look like a floor plan, but it does not mean it's a schematic design. It's a graphic representation. And so here, this is our first blush, if you will, at a program fit diagram, looking at a one-story scheme. We've laid out the rooms in orientation and adjacencies that are appropriate for Senior Center design, dealing with issues such as cognitive mapping, dealing with appropriateness of design for aging, grouping certain activity types together and certain noise levels together. If we look over here, yeah, we can't see, so I can just walk you through. The vestibule is the entrance to the building. We come into the vestibule. The vestibule will be large enough so that there'll be appropriate walk-off area depending on if you've got water on your shoes from the rain or whatever else may be on your shoes. Come into a main lobby area that will be a major gathering space within the center, with the reception desk immediately adjacent to this area, so the reception desk is essentially the gatekeeper into the building. The offices are behind the reception area, and it's important that the offices are physically located so that they have eyes on the parking lot, and those in the parking lot can see that the staff has eyes on them as well. So it's a safety and security issue. As you look around the building to the left, we have the restrooms, men's and women's restroom, easily identifiable and locatable in the building. You're always concerned about cognitive mapping within the building, making the interior circulation as simple and easy to understand. We then across on the west side, well, on the left side of the drawing here, we have an equipped fitness room and an exercise-focused multi-purpose room. These are spaces that would be appropriately furnished and equipped with the appropriate types of finishes, dealing with exercise. In the exercise studio, we would have an appropriate floor dealing with older joints, making sure that the floor has some impact resistance, so we're not walking on concrete and doing exercises on very hard surfaces, which would affect the joints in all of us. Then we have our large dining multi-purpose assembly room. We're showing that with the possibility of being a dividable space, so we would have two large spaces there to make up the entire room. We have a kitchen and catering kitchen area that would have access from the outside, so food could come in directly from the outside and then serve into the dining room. And then we have 3 additional multi-purpose rooms: the art-focused multi-purpose room, the small group multi-purpose room, and the classroom. We have 2 personal services rooms. Those are where private personal services, where confidentiality is important, such as legal advice, tax preparation. There could be medical screenings, that's the word, I'm sorry. Medical screenings that would take place in the senior center as well, and those are private spaces for individual one-on-one. We also have storage in the building, which is very important, table and chair storage as well. And then we also have a companion restroom, which is at COMPRR. That's a private restroom for individuals that may need some assistance or might have privacy issues where going into the public restroom would not be as comfortable a situation. We're also showing public restrooms on the outside of the building and talking with Omar Luna about that. Those are restrooms for use for the ball fields and for the playground. Currently, those are shared with the senior center. The senior center bathrooms are really too small, but they're also very, very awkwardly designed and create an issue with people coming into the senior center through the restrooms. So our recommendation is strongly to have restrooms for the senior center and then have restrooms for the public out in the yard. So with this scheme, we've actually come up with a very close to our program fit square footage. We have 11,395 square feet plus the outdoor toilet areas in this footprint. So this was developed to make sure that the program that we've developed takes on a square footage that then can be analyzed as to how it would fit on the site. We then also looked at the possibility of a 2-story scheme. It was something that was discussed, whether or not making a 2-story building would be smaller on the site. And the thing that we tried to accomplish here was to be realistic about not creating a footprint that was 50% first floor, 50% second floor. And that's for a number of reasons. Number one, there are certain spaces, the dining room assembly area, that we want to have a higher ceiling because it's a large room. So to have 2 equal floors of the same square footage, we would have a higher floor-to-floor dimension than really is necessary. So the dining room assembly would have a higher ceiling area. You also, though, have a redundancy when you have a 2-story building. You've got 2 stairways in the building that take up additional square footage. You also have to have restrooms on the second floor as well as on the first floor. But we've looked at this as a possibility. We also didn't want to have a situation where the first floor and the second floor didn't have any communication to one another. From an operations and management standpoint, we wanted to have an open area between the 2 floors so that you have an understanding of the 2 floors and there's direct communication between the 2 floors. So what we're showing here, again, are the same components, but we've got a lobby lounge space that is open to the second floor. We're showing an open staircase that goes up to the second floor, and up on the second floor, we're also showing the possibility of a roof deck, maybe off of the exercise room or maybe off of the lounge space on the second floor. And we've created a second stairway that's an exit-only stairway directly to the outside from upstairs, which would be required from the fire department. The net result here is that we do end up with a smaller footprint, but it's not half the footprint because of the things I've explained. We end up with 9,547 square feet on the first floor, 5,578 square feet on the second floor, giving us a total square footage of the two-story building at 15,125 square feet. So there is a considerable difference in the square footage and not a considerable difference in the footprint, but we felt that it was important in the discussions that we've had to look at what the possibility would be of a two-story building. We've then taken these two footprints and looked at what impact they have on the site and whether or not the site is viable. This is our existing building and an existing site. We've looked at each one of the site proposals and looked at what the pros and cons are of each of those. Basically, we're here tonight because it's been determined that a new senior center is necessary. So there aren't a lot of pros to be considered about the existing building. It's old, it's too small, it doesn't function, the layout is not user-friendly. When we were here a month ago with Karen, we were sitting in her office and people were walking through the door into the office and through the office and into the senior center. She has no privacy, she has no area for confidentiality. There is no sense of entrance to this building. There are 4 different doors that you can enter, but not one of them says I am the front door. They just are there, and you just choose a door to go into. That's not good from a security standpoint. It's not good from an operations standpoint. So we think that that certainly is a problem. There's not enough parking, and the parking is all street parking. Other than the fact that a new sidewalk has been added on Payne Drive, there are no sidewalks, so anybody's walking either in the street or on the grass areas, which can be very difficult for some seniors from a mobility standpoint. And there really is no safe path of travel from a safety standpoint from pedestrians and vehicles. And so we think that those are issues that really need to be addressed as we look at the various design uses of the site. This is Site Study A. We've looked at 3 different site studies. They are in no particular order. This Study A was looking at keeping the existing tot lot and swing sets exactly as they currently exist. There are currently 46 parking spaces on the street. We did not count any of the spaces that are along Chippewa that just kind of pull into the grass, but they exist in any of the schemes, so they have no net gain or negative impact from one scheme to the other. This essentially comes across the north of the site with the driveway and the parking between the building and the ball fields. So looking at this, what are the pros? The entry is clearly identifiable to the building, except for the fact that the building front door isn't facing the street. So once you see the building's front, it is identifiable to where the front door is, and we would have some sort of a projection over the drop-off area, whether it was cantilevered or a true porte-cochere with some columns out there, so that anybody being dropped off would be out of the weather. All the pedestrians have easy access to sidewalks. We would highly recommend sidewalks be constructed with the parking, but the parking along the street, along Payne, is along the back side of the building. So somebody coming into the building would have to come around the building to come to the front door. The travel distances aren't significantly long. We always recommend that all travel distances within a parking lot are within 300 feet, which is a fair amount of travel, but it is a doable amount of travel. Here we're well the front door, if you will. Food deliveries would be available off of the street. That little hatched area in the lower left-hand corner would be a dedicated parking space for food deliveries, and the location of the kitchen would be off of that corner. So we're not bringing food in the front door and parading it through the rest of the building. As we also look at the issue of drop-off, we do show handicap parking spaces. Those are not actually a defined amount of handicap parking. We have not looked at what zoning requires, but we certainly would recommend significantly more than what zoning requires, many times 2 to 2.5 times that But either way, those parking spaces are very close to the front door, easy for someone to get out of their car, get onto a sidewalk, not have to come through the vehicular traffic lane to get to the front door. The access to the drop-off area would be in a clockwise orientation off of Payne to Apache, and then come across the site west to east to get the passenger side of a vehicle at the front door for drop-off. So even though that 17 parking area would be a two-way traffic flow, anybody being dropped off at the front door, you'd have to go in a clockwise orientation. The building is obviously positioned very tight to the tot lot, and there is very little additional outside space for green space. This is the footprint of the one-story building. The two-story building would also fit on this site, but would not gain any additional parking. Scheme B, we looked at, and what this starts to do is to give much more definition to being able to identify the front of the building. This, as you can see, the front of the building would be identifiable off of Payne traveling eastward or off of Apache. The parking lot is very defined. It's in front of a good amount of the parking is in front of the building. There certainly is still parking along Payne, but here the majority of the parking is very easily identifiable, can identify the front door of the building. All of the parking has sidewalk access, and the majority of the parking you can get from your car to the front door without crossing any vehicular traffic. The drop-off, again, this would be in a counterclockwise direction, but is easily identifiable as you come onto the site. And again, there is more activity space, because what we've done is we've left the swings where they currently exist, and we've relocated the tot lot to the north between the swings and the ball fields. We've also identified a food delivery area, again off of Payne, would be into a parking space and have direct access into the kitchen area. The two-story scheme would also work on this site. And then there's site C that we've looked at here. Here, in this orientation, by essentially backing the corner of the building into the corner of Apache and Payne, relocating the tot lot as well, we do not have enough room for the one-story scheme. This is the two-story scheme only, fits on this site in this orientation. What we looked at here was that the entrance to the building, again, would be more recognizable than in Scheme A, because you would see it from Payne. We feel, though, that, however, we do have a significant amount of parking that would be on the back side of the building, and access onto this site to get to the drop-off area would be in a clockwise orientation. But coming off of Apache, even though that is a two-lane drive, it's a driveway. It's truly a driveway, hugging tightly up against the back of the bleachers to give us the access to the parking area. One thing that I didn't mention on Scheme 1, or in Scheme A, I'm sorry, and on this scheme as well, is that any access to the outdoor restrooms from the tot lot and from the ball fields, you would be crossing a vehicular traffic lane or crossing the parking lot. And we feel that those are some really significant safety issues. I can certainly imagine people over on the ball fields between innings, or even the ball players rushing over to use the restrooms during the game. They would be crossing a driveway. And when Omar Luna was out at the site with William, that was one of the issues that was certainly discussed, is do we want to try to keep the parking in the drives away from the children and the activities on the ball fields. So in conclusion to that, our recommendation on site utilization is Scheme B here. This gives us outdoor amenity space. It keeps all of the parking away from the users of the tot lot and the ball fields. Nobody has to cross any vehicular traffic lanes to get to the restrooms, and it identifies the parking specifically in front of the senior center, which would be very easily noticeable and usable. So this is where we are at the moment. We're getting ready to work with Tammy to assist in putting together the RFQ. Once we're going to move forward here, we met today, and we're meeting again tomorrow to kind of fine tune to make sure that we're all on the same page with this and the program. And then eventually the RFQ will go out. We will assist in that review, and once the RFQ, the responses come in and the design build architect and engineers are selected, we'll collectively move forward in the design phases of the project and get drawings ready for bidding. So that's where we are. If there are any questions.
I'd like to go to A. Why in A in that footprint? Why can't you put the front door on Payne?
Saying flip the whole thing,
Yeah.
or
Just move the entrance, I'm assuming, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Just where you have it right now on the north side,
Mhm.
bump it down to the bottom, which would eliminate, I guess, a parking space on the south side, but you would add them on the north side. He's asking if that's all possible.
we would lose about 7 parking spaces because you need a pull-in drop-off area.
Right, but okay. But do you have that pull-in and drop-off area on the north side right now?
Yeah, that's what that
So in other words,
that dip.
If you create this pull-up and drop-off area on the south, you could then add the parking you're missing on the north.
Right, but then you've got 25 parking spaces on the back side of the building.
Right, but you would still have them, but you would have 25 on the top, and you would lose 7 on the bottom.
Right, but you've got,
Same number would stay in.
and you've also got the issue of
This or something before we continue to ask
But
questions.
in my mind, if you do that, even the way the logistics of when they play ball and everything like that, when it's time to play ball, the seniors aren't there anymore. They're gone. You could go ahead and block. You can we're at 17 parking spots during ball time. You can block that off for the little league. You can block them 2 sides off, and there wouldn't be a problem with people going back and forth.
I would
Because
think
you wouldn't allow any cars to go through there. So in my mind, the way this looks to me, if you flip the entrance to the Payne Drive, and we can work out something with Omar and the Parks Department what we're going to do there, and I think it's a better look. And you have where the food comes in over here in the corner, and I don't know, that's my thinking, because then it takes away from having to do anything with the lot.
Before we continue to ask.
That's my 2 cents.
Before we continue to ask questions on the layout, Mr. Manager, just clarify my statement, okay? Lifespan did the research and study, and what they proposed to us was to let us know what amenities we should be having and what footprint, not necessarily the actual footprint of where it's laid out specifically, but those are recommendations coming from Lifespan. But go back to the first one that says the different amenities and the different rooms that we should have. No, the next one.
This here, okay.
That right there, or even the one before it gives you a list, but that one's fine. These different things, they're recommending where they should go in different areas. But when this goes to design build, the design build team that we select, would they still work with Lifespan when it comes to, so the answer is yes. So they would work with Lifespan as to where, so the catering kitchen necessarily doesn't have to go there. They'll work with Lifespan, because I'm sure there's different layouts of where it goes with interior wise. It's just a recommendation. Let me finish making my statement.
That's correct. This is not
Let me
set
finish
in
making my
stone.
statement.
I'm sorry.
1 second.
Go ahead.
So obviously, because we said that already, that Lifespan isn't giving you anything that's set in stone. They're giving their very fluid recommendation, but these are good recommendations of where to put these things.
Conceptual.
Even when it comes to the footprint of where it goes, go back to now A if you can. A, B, and C of the different options that they're giving, these are just recommendations. None of them are, it should be one way or another. He made a recommendation of B, but once we put it out to bid for design build, unless we specifically say it has to be one of these ways, and I recommend we don't do that, the design build team is going to come to us and say, this is what I recommend you do. Lifespan is not a design build firm. We can continue to have discussion as to why we want to do this, and I'm going to only I'm going to make an assumption now, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Mayor. In looking at this one over the other two, this one might seem more enticing because we don't have to adjust our tot lot because of it. I don't know if that's the reason or not that we're having that discussion about which way we can do it, but that's one enticing reason why. That's one reason why this one might seem enticing. But once we say we're okay with the amenities that they have set to put into this, and we're pretty much set on the 11,000 square feet roughly that it needs to be, if that's the case, the design build firm team is the one that whoever we select, then maybe we can give some input to that team as to where we would like to see it go and be it placed. But they're going to make their proposals and come to us, and we're going to get to select the team that we want that has the plan, just like Link Construction did, or when we had all of them come before us, and it was 3 or 4 or 5 different ideas and different layouts of where it goes. That's going to be where it kicks in. Lifespan did something, in my opinion, above and beyond what I was expecting them to do. I was expecting Lifespan to just tell us, yes, the footprint fits here. It fits on this site. Great job, City Council, for selecting this site. We can fit the building with all the recommendations on this site. Now, the next step is the design build team has to then pitch to us what the recommendations are. I don't think this is the time for us to say, well, can't we make it, can we put on the bottom? His answers are going to be yes, they possibly could, but the design build team should be that one to do it, because they're the ones that have the different ideas of ways that we can go about doing it. I just want to clarify that. He doesn't make that decision. Design build team is the one that does that. Is that correct?
In conjunction with them,
In
correct.
conjunction with them, right?
Correct.
To make sure that everything
Right.
that's required, safety-wise and amenity-wise, is still included. And there's a certain reason why you put the fluidity of it, and there's a reason why certain things are next to other things. There's a method to the madness, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's when they will work
Of
with
course.
design build. This is
Of
not
course.
the time to say.
No, we're not
That's
here to
good.
select A, B, or C. We're
Right.
just here to
Right.
get concepts, and once we do the RFQ, the design team might come back with something totally different than what's there.
Correct.
But
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Why isn't all these schematics and all these drawings in our packet? Why are they not
Why
here?
isn't his presentation
Yes.
into it?
Yes. Why isn't it in the packet? Because I would have liked to look at it. I mean, you just presented it to me, and I looked, and it's not. At least it's not in mine.
well, they've been working on it. They just arrived today, and we have hard copies of the presentations that you can take with you. But there really no decision is going to be made.
But no,
by
I got
It's
you.
just-
But I would have liked to see in it, so I had time to study and ask more questions. I'm just saying. Have you found out the cost of relocating the look into?
Right. We've spoken to Mark from Leathers, and he's supposed to be coming down here. He's been too busy, but he wants to look at the actual area and give us more or less a ballpark figure.
Okay, one last question, man.
Yes, sir.
I think you mentioned that when you came up to this drawing here, that I think what you didn't like about this is so close to the tot lot over here. On this side, are you foreseeing adding doors or windows on that side? That would be a problem?
Oh, no, I mean, we haven't shown anything with regard to windows. We've given some, and I can show you. We are showing openings coming out of the large assembly room with regard to doors and so on. Whether or not any of the other spaces might have doors, our recommendation is a strong recommendation that those are not entry locations, but they are both from an exiting standpoint, from a fire department standpoint, and also convenience. You may want to, in the exercise focused multi-purpose room, we are showing a door because you may want to take a Tai Chi class out into the grass if there's enough green space out there. So yes, those types of issues and design issues would again also be evaluated during schematic design and beyond.
But the design firm team could put that door somewhere else.
Got
They
it.
could put the window somewhere else. This is not like these schematics for us to look at and study and ask a question about. It's going to be, I can almost guarantee it's going to be completely different. When the design firm team comes in, when we did the community center, we had 4, 5, 6 completely different looking buildings. And one of the things that I really didn't like about that process is that prematurely, almost during this similar step like this, during the community center build, somebody talked about and showed a metal building that looked like a barn made out of metal. Coincidentally, that was the picture that was selected and front page in the Gazette, and that's what everybody thought we were going to make our building look like. So we had to deal for a couple months with people thinking that's what it was going to look like, and again, it torpedoes and makes a negative light of a project. Even right now, these three things that are proposed and layouts, they could be completely different. None of them could happen. So for us to even deliberate and discuss any of this, I think is premature. We should be just knowing that a 11,000 square foot building fits on this site. How a design firm team makes it happen, that's up to them when they propose it to us. And guess what? We get to decide which one of those is selected. But to discuss any of these three right now, I think is extremely premature. Councilwoman?
Hi, thanks for coming. I just have a couple of questions on what you said that we have inside, which is what your main
Correct.
Okay. Is there a minimum, are we at a minimum of what the sizes of the rooms have to be?
Yes, we've looked at these spaces and their proportionality with regard to the activities that the senior center wants to provide in the senior center, what spaces we feel are necessary to provide those various activities, and and the sizes are also based on furniture arrangements, because we want to make sure that anybody of any ability who has any mobility means at all can come into the senior center and use the room equitably. You can't tell a person in a wheelchair, you can only sit in this because you can't get to that chair back there because you're in a wheelchair and the furniture's too tight in the space. So these rooms are not only the square footage we recommend, they are also the proportionality that we recommend. So we would not recommend taking that exercise-focused room, which is primarily set up for aerobic exercise and Tai Chi and yoga, and making it a big square room, because the location of the instructor, the mirror wall in that space, and so on, have all been pre-analyzed looking at those spaces. And when the design team comes on board, all of that criteria and all of the thought that's gone into it before they've come on into the team will all be reviewed with them, from the architects and the engineers collectively.
So what we're looking at now is your criteria, what you've developed is needed for us to have a working space for the seniors to be able to participate in what they need to participate. Correct?
Yes, yes.
So that's what we'll be given to whatever design team comes up and says, this is what we consider, and then they'll be the ones that will direct what needs to be put where.
Under our advisement, yes. I mean, working with them as part of the entire team.
So this is what you suggest, these square footage is what you suggest, not exactly that way, but this is what you suggest needs to be in the building.
Correct. And we've given you a simplified version of the architectural or the program of requirements. We've actually, with Karen, have developed the criteria of each one of those spaces. How many people, what types of activities, what may be heating and air conditioning requirements, what may be plumbing requirements. But we've given you a simplified version of that, but that will then get passed on to the design build team as well.
So the totality of the accommodation of how many people can be in the building, do we have that number?
Not really. No, I mean that's going to be based on the calculations of the room and square footage. I mean, an example we talked today about that dining assembly room can easily hold 120 people for banquet facilities. If you talk to a caterer, he's going to tell you he can put 175 people in that room. But that is not what we would recommend for older adults, because we need more clearances around the tables if we have scooters and on and on and on. And we want to make sure that equitably everybody can use those rooms.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Yeah. Again, Doug, thanks for being here, and your colleague, Karen, is it?
Ellen.
Ellie, sorry. In deference to this obviously being conceptual, most of us that have been in the senior center, folks that are here tonight and otherwise, would tell you that clearly half of the space in the existing facility is where the folks eat when they come for lunch. Clearly, this is 25% of that, not 50. and again, I realize this is not your job to predetermine what goes where and everything, but it seems to me an awful lot of lounge space there. I mean, what's that for? I mean, why would that not be dedicated to the dining area?
Lounge space is one of the things that historically senior centers have been lacking.
Okay.
And historically, what senior centers have done is they have programmatically set up programs during the day, and you do this at 9 o'clock, and this at 10 o'clock, and this at 11 o'clock, and this at 12 o'clock, and so on. Well, what if you want to come to the senior center and you want to go to the 9 o'clock Tai Chi class, and then you just kind of want to hang out, and then go to lunch at 11:30?
Okay.
Where do you go and sit? The idea of creating impromptu socialization opportunities are something that really has been lacking in senior centers until probably the last 5 years. And so the idea is that you may want to do more of an a la carte use of the facility, or you may want to do an all-day use of the facility. But if you just want to sit around and check your emails and chat with your grandchildren or do whatever on your computer or play some cards or read the newspaper, you can't do it in the classroom when an activity is going on. So you create that lounge space, which is kind of like a grand hotel opportunity, and that's exactly why that's there.
Perfect answer.
Good, thank you.
Okay, so to clarify again, today this gentleman is here making the company's here making the presentation to us of what this is. We're not making a decision by any process, what the needs are and recommended process. Thank you very much. We have some folks that signed up to speak on the item. I'm going to allow to speak.
Great.
For
Good.
Mr. Wilson, Ken Wilson. Mr. Wilson, I'm going to assume that this is the item you wanted to speak on because it didn't say which item. Okay.
Chief?
You might be here about the PV Dove baseball field, and I don't know, but I want to clarify.
I don't think I'm in the PV.
No, but you want to go watch baseball. I
That's
understand.
true.
Yes, sir.
As long as you
Yes,
don't
sir.
run a tornado through
That's
there.
right. That's right. Welcome, Mr. Wilson.
Good evening, sir. Council members. Yeah. I appreciate the presentation. It was very informative to a degree.
Just for the record, you have 3 minutes for your discussion.
Yes, sir.
on the-
Thank you. I have my notes. I've kind of consolidated them.
No problem.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Good. I have a question. Who did you talk to in the senior center other than Karen and her staff?
Feel free to please come up to answer the questions if you don't mind. That would be great. Thank you very much.
It's just, I saw you walk in the door. And to satisfy why I asked the question is there is a gross amount of panic going on in our senior center at this moment. So
I appreciate the question. Actually, we had this conversation in our meeting this afternoon. We want to make sure that the community understands that what we're doing now is taking a look at this site and verifying that the site itself appears viable to accommodate what appear to be the reasonable objectives for the center at this location. The design process has not begun in any real way and won't until the design build team is hired.
Realizing
At that point, a process of soliciting public input will begin, which will provide multiple opportunities for current participants in the center as well as others in the target population that may not be currently participating to enter into the public record their feelings about what is needed in the new facility, what they'd like to see, express their vision, and the continuing design process will continue out of that.
thank you, Kelly. Appreciate it. The next question is for y'all. The panic situation is this. You've got a bunch of seniors who are pushing time limits, and they're saying, we're going to be dead because the building's coming. Is there any plan in the process as to what's going to happen to the 140 odd seniors who use this facility on a day-to-day basis when there is no facility?
Ms. Rosin, do you have an answer to that question? I figure.
No, we've been working
I didn't mean to put Karen on the spot.
Oh, no. Hey, listen. If you think I answer a question about the senior center or services without speaking to Karen, you're sorely mistaken, my friend.
Okay.
Go. Microphone, please.
We are currently looking at options. We've had conversations with the local church. We've had conversations with Omar. At this point, we are looking at the possibility of using the multipurpose room at the aquatic center for a period of time. We are currently housing certain activities at other locations. We would continue to do that. There are options, but we still have to formulate them and finalize them.
Okay.
So we really don't have an answer yet, Mr. Wilson.
But we have options, though.
But we are working hard at it.
Right, okay. And know that we have options. It's not that it's that we have no place to put you all.
There will be.
Oh, I know you. Listen. The last time you asked a question you didn't already know the answer to,
Exactly.
I wasn't born yet.
I know. My prime. You're gonna take this wrong, but
No, I'm
I'm gonna
not.
lay it out to you anyway. We built the rec center, we built the aquatic center, and all we have heard for the last 5 years is, should have done this, should have done that, should have done that. We rush into things without a plan. Sorry. We need to be planning what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and why we're going to do it. I know the money's a factor. I know the consultants have their philosophies. Y'all have your philosophies, and the poor old folks have their philosophies. Please, give it a lot of forethought before we make a decision. And I got news for you. I will be here every other Monday night. And
I wouldn't expect it
I will let
any
you
other way.
know if I think you're wrong, as you well know. But please, don't just go off half-cocked.
Thank you, sir.
Make it happen.
Thank you.
Thank
Before you leave, I'm going to ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
I know you've heard yaks about all those different buildings.
Yes, sir.
If it's the pool or the senior center. For those buildings and for decisions that we've made, at least since I've been up here on council, and most of us, including Mayor Bain, despite the yaks, have you personally felt that we've done things incorrectly without a plan on any of those?
In one instance.
Okay, good. I want your insight on that. You can call me anytime you want to discuss that so we can rectify that, because what a lot of folks don't know is that there is a lot of planning that goes on. Like you asked the question and Karen didn't give you an exact answer to what you want. It's because we do so much planning to make damn sure that we do what's in the best interest of the people. And even though we will do 100% of maybe what you think is the right thing to do, there will still be a
Without
a group
doubt.
of yakers that
Like
aren't
I
happy
said,
with what it
for
is.
some reason, I have become the spokesperson, center of focus at our senior center, and I listen daily.
Good
to
job.
Things that are going on, and I try to squelch 99% of it, but when it gets a little bit apprehensive, I come talk to you.
Thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
Eric
All I
Elza?
gotta do now is kill a chief of police.
Welcome, Councilman.
Mr. Mayor and City Council. I'm going to be very brief because I understand the concept, and I know that as the progress goes forward, it'll be better. But I have a couple of ideas or points that I need to make, and I think even Billy will agree with this. First, we need to put a bathroom over there at Prince Field, because the only bathroom facilities on Prince Field is at the senior center. And the people that come and want to go to the ballpark down on on Westford Drive, they have to walk all the way to the senior center. And that we need to have a facility over there on Prince Field. Don't have to come to avoid this conflict. And the only other thing I see today is that when you put this out for bid, that a lot of thought be put into this, because there's no elevator.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, there's an elevator.
Yeah, there is an elevator.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't
No problem.
I didn't see that in the thing,
problem.
but, because I was gonna say, there's 20% of the people couldn't go up the stairs. I'm sorry I bring that elevator up, but sometimes things get overlooked, and at this point, once we put it out for bid, and we didn't have an elevator, we'd have to be paying more money, and that's, I just wanted to add that. Thank you. I
Thank
don't have
you.
anything else
No
to
problem.
say.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
And again, we're going to
Appreciate the efforts you made to get this off the ground and started. I think it's a great idea, and I think it's going to really improve the facilities over there.
Thank you for your input. Again, we are, no, not for you, this is for the general public. Just know that, again, we haven't made a decision of what or where to put restrooms, but one of the recommendations, because I keep wanting to call you life proof, but it's lifespan. Lifespan has been in communication with our recreation department as well as our senior services, and part of the recommendation is to put a restroom for use of the recreational services outside of the senior center. So that is, to your point, that is being brought up. And in reference to a two-story part that was brought up, I can't speak for everyone else up on the council, but I personally will not be voting for any two-story building to be put up in that residential area. I appreciate the input and somebody and them doing the work to say, hey, you could still do this as an idea. Just know that I won't, and I've heard it vocalized by other council members up here that they wouldn't support a two-story building either, but just keep that in mind. Ms. White, Claire White. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, Mr. Espino, Mr. Alonso, and everybody else, and the people present. My name is Clara White. I live at 775 Westward Drive, corner of Laurel, and I have been there for a few years. I came here to Miami Springs for 10 months, and it's been 22 years. You know, the 10 months were up. I love this place. I retired here. I go to the senior center and I hear the people talking there, and some people are saying, and first of all, I want to thank you all for everything you do, but some people are saying, we have the community center, we have the tot lot, we have the aquatic center, we have renovations in the baseball field, and what's going to happen with the seniors. I thank you very much because you take care of a lot of things, and I know that a lot of planning is going into this. But what I'm trying to convey, and I wasn't prepared for this is all on this.
Take your time.
It's right now. I'm going to tell you that some of the seniors say, why are we always last? We contribute with taxes to everything that has been built here, and we only have 1% of the community funds for us. And I want you to take in consideration that, and please make sure that the place is beautiful. And I have a question. Is this, I don't know how to say it, is this written in stone that is going to be at Payne? Or is it still consideration of other places?
Miami Springs City Council voted for the current site location to be the only location that we consider for it. We based that on lifespan coming in and letting us know that a building meeting the needs can fit in that location. So once that was determined, we have already decided that this will be the site. So your answer is yes. This is where.
Thank you very much.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good job.
Good evening.
All right. That was the end of folks coming up to speak for this item. We don't have any vote to, to be deciding on it. I'm going to answer a statement or comment. You know what? You didn't sign up, but I'll be more than happy to have you come up, because I learned from a previous mayor that you let everybody come up and speak whether they sign up or not. Wise old man. I'm sorry, wise, not old. Once told me.
Oh boy, you're hot tonight.
Mayor and council, thank you for allowing me to speak. The
Welcome, Ms.
only
Owens.
thing I want to say about the senior center, it looks really nice. I'm impressed with how they've allocated space, because some people, and when I used a cane, I needed more space walking around.
But I only ask one thing. Please, 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 do not relocate the tot lot. You see the configuration, you can do it, and you can even add parking all the way up Apache and remove, please do not remove the tot lot and have it split. It's took a lot of fight this last 2 years for you to get that beautiful tot lot. Don't tear it up now. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, ma'am. That is it for the open forum. Now you see why you wait until a design firm team comes in here and does this. Speculation is already that we would considering splitting it or moving a tot lot. Speculation. Someone will grab that and run with it. So I'm glad that I've made it very clear. And even though we've made it clear, people will still begin to speculate, especially on what they read or see. No decision has been made as to where or what will occur. We know that it fits in this footprint. When a design firm team comes up and proposes it, we'll look at all of the options and then make a decision, obviously with charrettes and input from the public, including all of you, which we appreciate that you came in for. So again, Lifespan, thank you very much for your hard work. We look forward to continuing working with you. Now heading to new business, a resolution.
Crap.
You want me to read it?
Oh, that's right, it's mine.
You want me to, Jan used to read all the resolutions. and
Yeah, but we
ordinances,
actually updated. Can I have the updated one? Yeah, hold on one second. Sorry.
You okay there? We need her to do this? Or
Billy Bain, you're a piece of work.
Yeah.
While you look that up, we're going to take
We-
a 5-minute recess.
He's cramping.
We revised.
Go ahead. 10A.
Mayor and Council, your next item is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Miami Springs providing for the second budget amendment for fiscal year 2016-17 budget by increasing the general fund and capital projects fund budgets to record various transfers of funds, providing intent, specifying compliance with budgetary processes and procedures, providing for implementation, and providing for an effective date.
Through the chair, item 10A, motion to move.
Second. Any discussion on the item? Call roll.
Vice Mayor Petrolanda.
Yes.
Councilman Best.
Aye.
Councilman Bain.
Yes.
Councilwoman Buckner.
Yes.
Mayor Garcia.
Yes. Going to 10B, a recommendation.
10B is a recommendation of Public Works that council authorize the issuance and or execution of a purchase order to 123, utilizing a cooperative purchase with South Florida Water Management under contract number 45000980042 in an amount not to exceed $17,200 for emergency removal and disposal of downed trees due to the tornado on 1/23/2017 under City Code of Ordinance Section 3111E6E for emergency procurement. This item, as well as the next three, are items that will be reimbursed by our insurer, the Florida League.
Okay, go ahead and read the other two that are part of the
Okay,
same thing. Do them together.
10C, recommendation by Recreation that council authorize the issuance and or execution of a purchase order to Superior Park Systems in an amount not to exceed $9,560 for replacement of damaged bleachers and dugout benches at PB Dove Park under City Code of Ordinance number 3111E6E. Funding will come, it says funding will come from city reserves up front, but we will get reimbursed. 10D, recommendation by Recreation that council authorize the issuance and or execution of a purchase order to Island Fence of Dade in an amount not to exceed $11,720 for emergency repairs and replacement of damaged fencing at PB Dove Park pursuant to Section 3111E6E of the City Code. And finally, 10E, recommendation by Recreation that council authorize the issuance and or execution of a purchase order to Superior Park Systems, Inc., an amount not to exceed $5,137 for replacement of damaged trash receptacles at PB Dove Park under City Code of Ordinances number 3111E6E. And again, this will be reimbursed by the insurance. And one of the things we're pushing for is to have the field ready for the...
Entertain a motion for 10B, C, D, and E.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion on the items?
Call a roll, please.
Vice Mayor Petrolanda.
Yes.
Councilman Best.
Aye.
Councilman Bain.
Yes.
Councilwoman Buckner.
Yes.
Mayor Garcia.
Yes. 10F is consideration of the Board in Parks and Parkways recommendation for nominating the Yard of the Month awards for April and May 2017. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to move, Mayor.
Second.
Any discussion on the items? Call a roll, please.
Vice Mayor Petrolanda.
Yes.
Councilman Best.
Aye.
Councilman Bain.
Yes.
Councilwoman Buckner.
Yes.
Mayor Garcia.
Yes. Going to other business. 11A, fiscal year 2016,
Yes,
2017, first quarter budget status report, unaudited, Mr. Manager.
Yes, Mayor and Council. This is our first quarterly budget report for the new fiscal year. Again, as I always say every year, it's too early after the first quarter to determine what any surplus we'll have at the end of the year. But it's just there. If you don't have any questions, I'll place this online tomorrow for on our website.
Looking forward to seeing it, sir.
Perfect. Mr. Attorney, anything from you, sir?
No, Mayor.
Mr. Manager?
Quickly, February 15th, driver license renewal at the community center at 9:30 a.m. Also on February 15th, representative from Congressman Diaz-Balart's office will be in City Hall at 11 a.m. and they will be here every third Wednesday of each month. February 18th, the daddy-daughter dance. If you haven't already gotten tickets, I think it may be
Tough.
too late.
Not many
And
kids, that's a joke, I'm sorry.
February 22nd, we have a shred day at the Recreation Center from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And happy Valentine's Day to everyone.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman, anything from you, ma'am?
No.
Vice Mayor?
Nothing, Mayor.
Councilman Best?
I don't believe so, sir. Thank you very much.
Well, I wish everybody happy Valentine's Day. I hope everybody has their Valentine and sweetheart, or sweethearts. Okay, but, and, you know, and everybody have a lot of candy and chocolates. And that's all I got, Mayor.
All right. Thank you very much. I have a couple of things to mention. The first is a directive, recommendation, not so much directive unless council agrees to it. But Madam Clerk, you are no longer allowed to email bad news to us during a council meeting, okay?
Yeah, I just got it right now.
Yeah, wonderful. I appreciate that. Great job. Maybe that was just to keep my mind off of what happened. Just today, we received a notice that our deputy clerk, Ms. Alora Seiko, she recently married, so she has a different last name, has been offered and taken a position at the town of Surfside as a clerk, correct?
Deputy
As a deputy clerk. So so Alora will be going to work at somewhere else.
Effective?
We just got a couple of weeks before. It's in the email. I know. I didn't want to continue reading it.
I'm learning how to do it.
Good job. I'm getting updates from Mayor Bain from his iPad.
Unbelievable.
This is phenomenal.
Such progress.
I'm gonna take I'm gonna take this opportunity, even though I'm sure we'll have another opportunity to speak about it. But Alora has been here with us from transitions all the way from when we had Magali here, and going through the transition when Susie was in between, and has assisted us in the smooth transitions we've had coming into Erica. And I'm sure at one point in time, even though she's going as a deputy clerk over there to the town of Surfside, she will make a fine city clerk at some point in time. She's good enough to do it right now.
She's
if you
excellent.
ask me.
Excellent.
But she's doing what she needs to do, and she's going through the process and procedures to make sure that she has all of her certifications, which she's acquired most of them. I remember telling her all you have to do is just do your continued education and get as many of the certifications as you can get.
Eric, is she CMC yet?
She is.
Yes,
She is.
CMC.
Okay.
Yeah, she is. And every time something pops up for another opportunity to go to a workshop or a seminar, Erica's like, go, get it done.
Good
So
for
I'm
you.
very proud of her, and I'm sure we'll have another opportunity to thank her, and we'll do it again later on. The Miami Springs softball team, again, I mean, our girls are doing phenomenal. I'm going to invite them to the next council meeting to come and bring their mighty big trophy that they won at a tournament. We're always, praising our youth leagues for doing it. Just know that this girls' softball team has done a phenomenal job with volunteer coaches, beating travel teams out there that have highly paid coaches that recruit from around the Tri-County area to play for teams. And we are working with girls just within our little town here of Miami Springs and surrounding areas where where our girls are from, and they're beating these big dog teams. They just recently won a tournament that they were at. So I'm going to invite them back. I just want to congratulate our girls softball team for doing a phenomenal job in what they do.
Have them do the pledge, see?
Oh, well,
There
we're gonna. I'm sure. I don't know if we have somebody else to do the pledge,
Yeah.
but if it's the pledge and there's other things, they will be
Yeah.
here to be recognized. Hopefully, they're not away at another tournament for the wonderful job that they're doing. I have nothing else. We'll see you at the next meeting. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, sir.